It's Toback's job to mess you up.
Well, he's not gonna. You're gonna. Hey, boys and girls, it's Mitch and Mike, and we got our friend David Toback here on the Mitch and Mike Voiceover Journey Show.
There he is.
Another GVAA. What are you? I mean,
Gorgeous.
You're like admin. You're like part of the team. But what's your exact title over there at the Global Voice Acting Academy?
Well, I have a self-assumed title of Chief Operating Officer.
The coup.
Right.
The coup. I manage the daily operations of the business. So
Nice.
And
we're going to ask you more about that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So we'll keep short answer. Daily operations, all daily
So how does one daily operate the voice?
Yeah.
Very, very sloppily, carefully, considerately.
Well, it's great to finally have you on, David. David, again, being heavily involved in the GVAA, and Mitch and I being members of GVAA for me, it's going on 2 years. It's been 2 years. Mitch, I know you've been there a little bit longer than us. Or longer than me.
Yeah, not longer than Toback, but definitely.
Toback?
I'm just going to change it up the whole...
That's okay. I've heard them all. If you come up with a nickname I haven't heard, then...
Okay. T-Biscuits?
That's a game we could play.
Teabag? No.
Teabag has to be one.
Had that one. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Easy.
But yeah, I got to meet David at One Voice last year, and so that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
To meet the gang there. So, and I just had a workout session with David last week.
That's right. We did our first. That was nice.
I'd done one with you. It's been,
was it?
It'd been well over a year. I had done one or two with you a while back.
Okay,
but,
sorry.
I play the field, so I just kind of
first in a while.
Yeah, it's nice
I rolled back around. I thought, you're doing it at a time that works for me, and we're having you on the podcast, so it made perfect sense for me to get into your workout. So, and it was really good. So
Jupiter was in retrograde or something.
Everything aligns.
It's usually Mercury, but Jupiter could be in retrograde too, I'm sure.
Could have been Uranus.
Now if it's Venus,
yeah.
It could have been.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's Mike again making the butt jokes.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So, David, let's as we do, let's kind of begin in the beginning, right? So, how long have you been a voice actor?
Well, in the beginning, there was David. No,
wow.
So, in the beginning, how did I start? I started in 2014, and I got there in this weird, circuitous. I didn't say that right, but whatever.
Just made up a word. We're going to send it into Webster's.
I usually do that, so be prepared. Don't Grammarly hates my typing. They're like, what's that? No, but I had a weird path like most people have had, and it was just, oh yeah, you should do this. You do funny stuff with your voice, like everyone has heard, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, oh, yeah, so yeah, I'll do that. How, like then you don't, then what, right? You're like, oh yeah. Okay. So that kind of a friend that was actually doing ads for radio, and I just used to send her like stupid and inappropriate for public consumption voice notes, singing to her, like playing guitar or just in funny voices, Cartman, just because I was a goofball.
Yeah.
And she's like, you're really talented, you should do this. And that's why I was like, oh yeah, sure, no problem, I'll just do that.
Wow.
And then like 7 years later, it's like, oh, you should do this thing. Like, okay, sure. So once I got really annoyed with the corporate world, and I had lost a job and was trying to find my way, and then after I'd hurt my leg, where I'm sure, some people know, it's kind of, it's old news now, but like I almost cut my leg off.
Yikes.
And
what?
I ran into a steel beam at a charity event, and it almost cut my leg off.
Oh.
And so life changed.
By walking? Hold on.
No, I was running. I was playing. I was a Relay for Life, which is an overnight event. I used to event chair, like be all up in it, like raising all the money and doing all the things.
Yeah.
Like and I wasn't leadership this 1 year, but I was there, and you play sports or something like that. So we'd always play like flag football, touch football, whatever, and
at night.
Yeah, at night, the lights on in the field,
Sure.
and there just happened to be the generator for the event out in the middle of the field.
Ooh.
And they threw the ball that way, and I was defending, just running, boom, ran right into the C-beam of the trailer holding the generator.
Oh no!
And it just like went through my leg. So a couple of people puked. You know, it was horrific. It was like a horrific injury. Like, you know, you could see all the bones in my leg, and it was the orthopedic.
What did you do?
For those of you watching on video, we're gonna put up
I do have
a picture of it right now. No, we're not. No, let's not. Let's not.
Please. Oh no.
Yeah, there is a picture of it. Because after they like basically I hit it, and it like went through my knee and severed my patellar tendon, and it like went to the femur. It tore all the cartilage out. So I fell back on the ground, and my leg was just bent like that. So because the patellar tendon holds your leg up, so it just folded completely wide open. And when I get to the hospital, they opened it up, or they extended it out a little bit to put it in, or like to put it into like a sling thing. So when they took a picture, it wasn't the way it was on the field. But they basically put a towel in it, and the towel like went like dipped inside my leg. You know, like it was really bad.
So they tried to recreate, but it didn't do it justice.
Yeah, no, they were like, we need to put a towel over this because nobody should see this. So they told me that I would, you know, I had a greater than 50% chance of losing my leg that night. So, and I walked 4 miles this morning. So yeah,
nice.
We see how that ended. But
yeah,
right.
That was like, a major traumatic event in life, and it made me think very differently about my future. You know, they were like, oh yeah, I was like, oh, I'm not going to be able to run, won't be able to play with my kid. Like all these things start running through your mind of what you won't be able to do because you're sitting there, like, you know. And it was like I made it through the hospital 4 days without an infection. Like, okay, we got to wait 2 weeks, and then we're in the clear. And then I'm sitting there, and my leg's like itching, it's red, and it's like the size of a telephone pole, and you're like, oh no, like just thinking like, well, you know, it's just, you know, you think so differently when you have something like that that's like could change your life, you know. The way, you know, I played baseball, I was an athlete, you know, so all of a sudden like my identity was like flying out the window. So I just worked really hard. I was like, they were like, yeah, you know, I'm going to use one of the words the kids use, but the doctor said, you know, you'll be lucky to walk without a cane. And I was like, all right, bet.
Challenge accepted.
So proud of myself.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. So I just did therapy every day. You know, I went 3 days a week, and I did therapy like 8-9 times a week. I just kept doing it all the time. I was like, there's just no way. I was like, it just was such to feel like, oh, I'm not gonna be able to walk normally, or I'm not, like it messes with you. And then it wasn't working. Started working at Publix, and those on the east and southeast. Well, no, it's a great grocery store, but started working in the deli. So like after like 7 months after almost losing my leg, I was working in the deli at 35 hours a week in the deli, because I just had to get some work, you know. And the wife at the time was like, let's go, you need some, you know. So you know, doing that, I was Ubering, and while I was recovering, I started voiceover coaching, because I thought to myself, like, well, I can go back to school. My folks were like, oh, we'll help you out with some money if you want to go back to school. And it was like, well, I'm either going to go back into the medical area, or I'm going to, you know, what am I going to do? I got to go back to, and I was like, why don't I pursue something that I've always had this interest, and it just was like always stuck in the back of my head. I saw James Arnold Taylor at Star Wars Weekends one year, you know, doing all the characters. He does like a show, like 100 different people. And I was just like, oh no, that's it. That's what I'm doing. So he got me the bug, read the book, you know, started kind of going down slowly, you know, as I think a lot of people. It's like I started recording myself. If only we could listen to some of those phone recordings. Oh my God. That would be
the early David years.
Yeah, wow.
Early
But it was
Toback
like
voiceover.
you reading out loud. It was like read your mail out loud. And it was just doing these things to practice. And when I got hurt, I was like, instead of paying to go to school, why don't I do this instead? So I found a coach. Wasn't GVAA. I got kind of taken a little bit, but
there's a lot of stories like you.
You know, yeah. And so I got my first demo, and it got me an agent, and you know, I don't know. I guess I got some work here and there, but I now know, like, I hear that and I want to throw up on my first demo. You know, just like most people, their very first demos are like, ooh. But it really was. I can see where that came from. But that's where it started, and I just started doing the work. I remember just having my leg propped up in the brace that I was in, like on like boxes, while I was like doing the Zoom coaching or the Google chat or whatever. We're, you know, I was just like so committed, like, hey, I'm gonna do this instead. And I walked.
He's like, can you stand?
Yeah.
Yeah, standing there.
I was like, actually, no. But I did walk very gingerly, but I walked into the studio to do my demos when I did them. I shouldn't have done them, but I did them in hindsight. But I was able to walk in, and I remember posting about that was like a huge milestone because, or maybe it was like gingerly. I remember it took me, several months to learn how to walk again, and so it was right around the time when I was just getting to be able to walk on my own without crutches or anything like that. Maybe like 4 months after. So it was like kind of like this big thing, like I'm on this new journey, and I felt like so empowered.
It was like a dual milestone.
Wow.
Yeah,
You're on the journey and you're walking.
yeah. So that's where it started, and it was definitely a journey, and I found, oddly enough, I found GVAA like a few weeks before I did my demos. It's like, oh, you should find people on Facebook. I'm like, oh, okay, and I happened to find GVAA, and that's where my journey with GVAA started. Unfortunately, at the end of my voiceover education, my first initial voiceover education, and so I started. I took some class. I think we were doing Google Meet then or something. I don't know, but it was like, oh, here's a class, and we're just doing it, and really hit it off with Christina and started, took a class or two, and then the rate guide kind of happened, and then the rest is history.
Yeah, tell us more about that. I know, like, for those of you again who don't know or aren't part of GVAA, David has just started. There's been Cup of Joe with David Rosenthal for a while, where he meets once a month with people. Well, David has started Cup of Tea with David T once a month, and I got to join you for part of that. This last one you did, and you were kind of talking about the history of the rate guide there. So those of you who don't know, GVAA rate guide is like an industry standard. That a lot of people even not in with GVAA refer to and utilize.
Oh, yeah. And here's its founder right before you.
Yeah, well, yeah. So David, why don't you kind of get into that story of how that came about?
Yeah, so this was the early times. It was in my first year. And like I said, Christina had become a mentor. Like we became fast friends when she did consult with me, and kind of was just there. And I think when you're new to the industry, sometimes you latch on, or you'll like ask people like, oh, hey, what about this? And you'll be like maybe that annoying person that asks all the questions.
That's me.
Yeah.
To you, I think. I think I'm you there.
We're all me. We're all the same, I think. It's just the different times of when we started doing that. So, I got this job request, and basically, I would just ask questions, or I'd send a text, or whatever it was, and we had each other's phone numbers, which was kind of cool at that time. I was like, whoa, this is so cool. So I text her, and this was a time where everyone was talking about, hey, promote yourself. You got to do marketing. And so I'm like, okay. And I was definitely on, at the time, the Bill DeWeese kick. And that's where I learned a lot of my information from. And it's like, go to Craigslist. I'm like, sweet. So I go to Craigslist and I start looking, voiceover, whatever. And I find some people, and I respond to their thing. And the guy's like, hey, David, thanks for reaching out. We have a project, like whatever. What would your rate be? And I was like, aren't you supposed to tell me? Like, what do you mean?
Wait, you're supposed to know that answer.
I was like, wait, I'm just supposed to do the work. What do you mean? So then I was like, Christina, help. And she didn't get back to me. And I charged him like $200, and it was for like it might have been like a 3-minute corporate video or something for a home health agency. I could find it. And I was like, not a huge deal, but could have been a little bit more. She was like, oh, it could have been a little bit more, but here's some resources. So she gave me some stuff, and then I went out and looked. In my past life, before I went down this road, I was an analyst in marketing and finance for a couple Fortune 500 companies. So
whoa.
I just kind of, it's all luck, but I just kind of felt like I was an idiot, and everyone knew what they were doing, and like I just overlooked like how in the world am I marketing my services and I don't know how to quote them? I was like, oh my God. I was like, shoot, I better make this guide. So I spent all this time like making this guide, whatever. And I took these resources and I just made a little price list for myself based on the information, a couple surveys and some other rate guides that were out there. And I, being a good little mentee, I was like, Christina, look what I did. what do you think? And she's like,
Look what I can do.
Dude, like, what, are you kidding me? She's like, this is incredible. She's like, we need this so bad in the industry. I'm like, what do you mean? So that's what set it in motion. And from there, Christina and I worked together. Me is just helping out. It's like, would you help me out with this? I was like, oh yeah. And so then all of a sudden, the next thing I know, I'm in a room with like all these people that, are the top people in the business, like still today, and agents. And I'm like, what am I doing here? I was so nervous. I was like, oh crap. And so I just kind of got thrown into the fire, but it wasn't like, well, how many days do you have in this? It's like, he came up with this great like rate guide, and like, we want to expand it. And everyone's like, yeah, this is great. Let's do, so all of a sudden I'm on a team with like all these, really influential people that I'm like looking straight up to the sky at that time. And I'm like, I'm in the room with them, So that's how it started. And, we wound up, Christina had the wherewithal and the knowledge and the people, the contacts. And I just had the idea when I had it. I consider like my Post-it note, like Post-it notes are trying to create super glue, and they found that it just kept re-sticking, and that's how Post-it notes were created. And so it's like, it was by accident. Like I didn't do it thinking that the industry needed something. I was like, I better have rates for myself, and so it just happened to be a happy accident. And that's how, we co-created the rate guide. And, when we released it, we thought, oh, this will be great. This will help people. And then it just like, because Christina and I are both extremely detail oriented, but also not at the same time. But we both put a lot of detail into it where it was comprehensive. And I think that's what people were lacking, was like the education around it. Not just like there was something that pointed to rates, but it made it as if like, my point was, if I was someone coming in and didn't know a thing, they could look at this rate guide and understand it.
We didn't have to live without it. Like, we've been in it the whole time, so we don't know that dead air that is like having to ask some random other voice actor for a rates-ish sort of thing. Or, exactly.
That's why I said it was the wild, wild west, because there just was nothing. Like, there's the union. Obviously, you have the union contracts, but there's nothing that just. There's no educational structure for the voiceover industry where it allows that type of thing where, oh, you can learn this information. It's disseminated across this class or through this thing. And it just kind of, it's wild, wild, wild west. Like, you learn it from where you learn it. Like, I found my coach because I was like, I better go to someone local.
Right.
Like, why would you go online coaching? Like, like it was 2014. So, it's not that it wasn't happening then, but it just wasn't my first thought. I'm like, oh, let me go. I found this dude in Tampa or whatever, and it was like, oh, let me do that. But then it turns out, well, there's all this stuff online. There's this whole other world I had no idea about, but I just found it because I put in some search terms.
Yeah,
in the
and
Google,
now all you have to do is say voiceover, and your Facebook feed is just chock full of just wonderful people just wanting to help. If you just give them some money, you can make lots of money.
There's also wonderful people who do just want to help. But
there are.
There's some you pay for. That's for
like
sure.
The good folks at GVAA.
That's you might be preaching to the choir, but
I love that because it proves a point I've been seeing lately. It's good to have a minor in something. You're a voice actor major, and you're minoring in blank. I've noticed some of the strongest, most influential or mainstay actors have a minor in singing. You've created this whole other empire that, this really strong part of voice acting that I wouldn't want to live without. So I love that you're sort of throwing that out there. You have this extra thing that makes you even more valuable to not only your peers but to clients as well. That's super cool.
Yeah, I mean, I try to impart that knowledge. Like, I feel like I'm always training clients or teaching them, and that's why I just had to do it. Like, I talked about it. Had to let go of a job because it just wasn't going to work out with what they wanted, and they're not understanding that, like the end client not understanding. Or just being ignorant to the fact that just because their marketing agency creates something doesn't mean they own everything within that creation. It's like voice licensing, music licensing, video licensing doesn't work that way. But so there's a lot of ignorance in regards to buying voice, and then they try to buy it. And so like my client, the marketing agency, they're just like, oh, thanks for teaching us, like, because they have no idea. They're like, oh, this is how it's done. And I feel like that's something that we come into contact a lot with. But it does help me because I can navigate some of those situations in a different manner. But I try to help.
It's good that it goes both ways there. That, I mean, you're helping the voice actor and you're helping the clients, the casting companies and all of that.
Oh yeah,
know what to charge.
Oh yeah, I've had conversations with production companies. Some that like I didn't say like, oh, this needs to be secret, but I just won't name them. But they're definitely out in the social media. Mm-hmm. There's a big one in Atlanta that called them like, hey, we're trying to understand the rates more. And so I've had numerous conversations with production companies, producers, people that are buying because they find either someone's referencing the rate guide or they just find it looking for rates. Mm-hmm. Like, I really want to understand this more, and that's like, and the first thing I say is, well, thank you for wanting to have this conversation.
And now give me a job, and I will explain it to you.
Yeah, well, part because they're calling me as David Toback GVAA, not David Toback voiceover,
right?
And so then I'm saying, from that perspective, I'm like, this is we really, the industry appreciates this because you're the type of client that we want to work with. That like these are the types of and so I've had a lot of good conversations with on the production side as well, and agents use it, casting directors, I mean production companies use it themselves, like on their, like, we use GVA rates, like it's kind of yeah. And I've even had, I mean, I've heard it numerous times. I'm sure the example you've heard too, where people are like, oh, I didn't know that there were standard rates, or oh, this is great, thank you. We never know what to charge or what we should budget for stuff. So there's a lot of times where people, they want to pay fairly, they may not know, there's a lot of things where I think we don't take it for granted, we don't maybe know like where the other side is coming from in their journey as far as voice buying, and they may be very, very apt to pay like, oh, okay, these are standard rates, okay, we'll just put that in the budget, and they're willing to pay, and I think it's a lot worse when it's the other way around, not wanting to pay. It's always much more of a hassle.
But. Yeah, and there are plenty of those people around.
Oh, yeah. It feels like more and more every day.
Yeah.
We talk about that, too.
The good old, what's the term for buyout?
In perpetuity?
Perpetuity, in perpetuity. Yeah. $200.
Yeah.
To, then we're going to show this all over the interwebs and in perpetuity. Oh, no, you're not.
Yeah,
forever.
That's something we're reviewing commercial rates this week of recording, later this week, and as part of our rate review, and a big thing is digital, and how I feel like in the past 2 years, more in the past year, I feel like it's just exploded. Yeah, more and more people. I haven't fielded this many questions about digital ever. And it just feels like it's more and more of that low hanging fruit is hitting social media ads and OTT. Like there's like the cheap stuff, and I only say that because maybe there's more of it, and so I think it's more coming from the bottom where it's filling upwards, where they're doing meta ads. Like this project I was talking about was for Jewish National Fund, so and their client didn't know how to buy voiceover ads, so they must not be doing it. So it's like, okay, now more people are getting into this space because they can, and they don't know what they're doing getting in that space to buy and to act as a voice buyer, and so that's like a big focus, and we're going to be doing a webinar on that too in the next coming up on digital and commercial usage, just because it's been so confusing for a lot of people, and rightfully so. Like it is confusing, and we're going to be making it more clear when we update stuff. But yeah, there's been a lot of that, and it, so much of it is coming from casting sites, and so much of those are perpetuity. They just put everything, and that's where we're seeing that, right? And it does get really difficult, and it's something potentially to talk to Rolf about. How, like, that's a big concern, and now we're to that point where people, like, that job that I had to turn down, it wound up being $3,000 that I had to turn down. Now, if they put that on for $3,000 on Voice 123, someone would take that for 4 meta ads in perpetuity. And that's what it was. Like, oh, we want to use these forever, and all aspect ratios, because like they get access to the content. And so even though it's a reel and it's 16 by 9 or 9 by 16, well, it was filmed in 16 by 9, so now it can become a TV commercial maybe. And that's the problem, is like we have to protect against those things, and they may never want to do that or have the intentions of doing that, but we don't know. And that's the problem. Like,
right.
And they don't understand that we have to protect ourselves. And so it's like it's like we're all speaking different languages, and not like the people that are buying from us don't necessarily know how it works on our side. And then they're dictating, what the budget should be. And it makes for a really difficult back and forth, and you don't see this with agents, because they do all that work.
That. Yeah.
So like I tell everyone, you have to be your own agent. If you're a non-union voice actor and you want to do commercial, like you really have to look at the business as, especially for commercial and animation and those things where the usage on ad buys and stuff that's very contract heavy. If it's non-broadcast, you can survive, right? You're not going to get too out of the weeds with non-broadcast. But if it's commercial and it's digital, like we're leaving money on the table. People aren't paying things. How do we evaluate it? That's a big question. How do we evaluate what should be something, is there like do you even have like, hey, this is the indie, like there's an indie rates for video games.
I brought that up. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, is this like, hey, these are, you shouldn't take these rates, but this is what, it's like, how do you talk about those? Like, hey, this is what you might see. But then it's like, oh, these are the rates that we think you should have. These are professional high standard rates. You're going to see much lower. It's up to you to negotiate. Because the hard part is, I can't have the weight on my conscience that like stuff that we put out harms people's careers.
Mm-hmm.
And or that they, because like you guys have come in and you've known nothing but the rate guide. It's like, oh, it's like, it's like Moses coming down with the tablets, like, it's like this is the word of God, and so people see it and they're just like, that's what I have to follow, and I think there can be a little bit of not being flexible and being able to get a customer, because then you have to be a business person and you have to be able to, and that's where all these skills that people haven't learned, maybe won't have, may never have. That's where those skills are important. And
not everyone's
a
business owner. We're all voice actors.
Yeah.
Not everybody's ready to be a business
That's the hardest
like,
part of voice acting. We can all get in a booth and say something into a microphone, but actually running a business of your voice is definitely the hardest part for me.
Yeah, because it has all the business. Unless you want to be a SAG, like a pure SAG talent, then you're going to have to be a business owner, and unfortunately that it's not.
That's most of us.
It's not as attractive as what it seems like,
and I think that
weeds.
weeds out, right? There's a lot of people that will get, I want to do this, and then they get in, they find out how much work it actually is, and how slow it is for most of us to to get into the black.
That's why, like, when we do consults, we're just straight up honest. We're just like tell people.
That was one of the things that made me stick with GVAA, is I had that consult with David, and he said, I talked to him, and they said, let's schedule one, and I scheduled one session with him, and I said, I want a no BS assessment. And
I'll check the no BS box.
Yeah,
there's a BS box. And
yes,
no BS
I don't want that BS. I want the no BS. That's the one I want. Please give me that one. But yeah, I mean, he basically, came right out and said, I do think you have the talent, Mike, but here's what it's going to mean, and I want you to understand. And that's what, with you and your background, and David and his background in finance, he's always been super real with everybody about making sure you're running this as a business, and you're thinking about this as a business, and you're not making dumb decisions, and you're not overspending because you think, you've got to manage yourself, and you've got to market yourself. And so, that's things that I had to learn. And I'm still learning, and I'm still not good at a lot of it, but
I mean, there's a lot of moving parts to a business, and you have to be able to manage it all while doing everything, and then we're all maybe doing other things too.
Speaking of doing everything,
I still have a day
David,
job. And I still got to do that. So
that's my big question. Now, Mike's got a day job and he's a voice actor. That's a lot because I have a part-time job and I'm a voice actor. I'm like, I want a nap now, thank you. David, I know that you're COO doing everything. You're chipping away at the rate guide at all times, and that may or may not be off the clock. You're direct marketing. You're auditioning. You're walking 4 miles a day.
He's coaching.
You're coaching. How did you get all this time and no one else gets this time? Where's the time in your day go?
He's got one of those Harry Potter time-twisty things.
Are you also a vampire? Yeah. Time turner?
I am a vampire, actually. See,
okay.
No,
yes. Love it.
No. I don't, I'll be honest, like, I don't always, I'll say, like, I don't always do the things I need to be doing. And that's probably where some of the time comes from.
So you are just like us. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely,
we need to know.
For sure.
Everyone
there's I'm doing auditions and spending more time than I would like to on them. Getting better. That's always been a struggle of mine is producing auditions.
Okay.
So I'm doing auditions, but there's a lot of times where I'm not doing all the things for my VO business that I might need to do, or I'm not doing the stuff. I'm kind of trading a lot of times. I only did like a little bit of GVAA today because I got, I did these auditions and I had this other stuff, and then I had this one thing, and then now it's like 5, and I don't know, I'm kind of not in the mood. I'm like, I have all this work. I'm gonna save it for tomorrow because I need to get focused and do this focused work, and then I'm like, doing other stuff. And I will say that years ago I did work. I think I felt like I worked more. Maybe I work smarter now, but I felt like I was working all hours of the day and night for several years and now that I've gotten to the ripe old age, almost of 45, it feels like some of that like zest for like being like I'm gonna work 12 hours every day has like dissipated. Or the ability to do it. It's like where I was like, oh well, there's all these hours in the day, I must do it, and I kind of burnt out a little bit maybe. So I think it's always a balance, and there are times where, some things aren't getting done. That's for sure. And a lot of times I just wonder like, oh man, if I could just do voiceover, like if I just dedicated all my time, what would that even look like? But I try to just balance things out the best I can, and prioritize the calendar. I live in my calendar for sure. And luckily, well, this year, I haven't coached as much. I mean, I know people are tightening the belts, so there hasn't been as much rate coaching this year, but, coaching the membership, and I just try to juggle it. But I'll be honest, like I feel like I do a lot of things, but good, but not a lot of things great. Not everything great. I'm just kind of doing the things I'm doing good enough in the places.
You're a jack of all trades and a master of none.
Yeah, no, for sure. I feel like I've always been interested in a lot of different things, and then I'll get good, and then it's like, okay, now what's next? Well,
it takes a long time to get great. A lot of people can get good at stuff, but not a lot of people are going to keep learning new things. They're going to be good at the thing, and then hopefully ride that out until they retire. Yeah, but it's good to have a lot of interests, and I think it's kept us afloat as well. I mean, it's good. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you guys doing the podcast. Like, I have ideas. Like I've had like, I want to do a podcast. Like, I feel like we have these creative ideas, and they're like, oh, let's do that. That seems like it'll fill my need for creativity, or maybe what you're missing and what you're doing. Because voiceover is great, but I mean, sometimes it can be a slodge. You're like, oh man, like this is not. I always tell people, no one got into voiceover to do explainer videos. Like nobody was.
I'm meeting some people, to be honest. I'm meeting some people who are like, those are great.
Yeah. I've got a good friend.
I'll
Sean
do them.
Scott.
I'm just saying,
he's
Sean.
he's like the explainer video king, and he loves it. He loves doing narration and explainer video. That's his niche.
Yeah.
Doing like, characters and stuff. I mean, he does great. He's in some of the Shoestring Media or Shoestring TV stuff that Mitch and I are in, and he's hilarious. But he's like, as far as jobs, he wants the things that he's comfortable in.
Oh yeah,
and
sure. I think you find those, right?
Yeah.
But like, I think when you're like, I want to be a voice actor, like
you don't
probably
think
didn't
I
even know
want
what
to
an
do
explainer
corporate
video
narration.
was, right?
Right.
You're like, I want to be in a video game. I want to be commercials, maybe audiobooks if you're a crazy person like that.
That's 95% of us, I think.
And I'm comfortable with like a 6-minute job that pays $1,000. Like, I'm comfortable with that.
I could do that.
Yeah. Me too. I want a few of those a week.
Yeah.
Right?
If we could get them more regular, that would be a good thing. So
it'd be tasty.
But yeah, that's kind of, I don't know. I think that you find out, okay, this is where I'm fitting in. Like I think that's happened. I found myself, I'm booking and getting avails for stuff that's like real people in a commercial. Like I was just recently like on avails for I didn't get it. It was for Listerine, but it was like a union thing, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be cool. And I was on hold. And I listened back, and it was just like it was real person talking in the thing, yeah. So I feel like there's something that I can connect to the writing where it's realistic writing instead of AVO writing that we're making sound realistic.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
so there's something I can
for me.
connect, and so those things I seem to do well with, and that's where you're like, oh, okay, or you find your niche like the guy Sean, like, oh, I'm booking explainer videos all the time. Okay, or you get in, you find where you're good, and then then you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to put a little bit more in that because if you're booking stuff all the time, then maybe I should focus there. Or so I think people do that. They find what they find they might like is not why they got in the business to begin with, But those are the things, like it's usually the sexy big things draw us in, and then you realize, oh, that's just what we see on TV and stuff, and that's not the real, like the working class voice actor is like the non-union voice actor.
Yeah, I thought I'd be like, ooh, running for dubbing real hard. And the more dubbing people I meet and the more I realize like what it takes and what it is, I'm like, that actually sounds not my favorite. The job is very cool, and it seems difficult and meticulous and very skilled, but maybe not my first choice anymore.
Yeah, and it's extremely technical, and then it's the lowest paid, and it's like the hardest work. It's like the most technical that you have to be, maybe looping stuff like that, but like it kind of is in similar realm. But it's like super technical that you have to learn and be good at the technicality of it, or the technique of it, not just the performance.
Yeah,
and that might be just as important as the performance, like being able to dub, being good at actually dubbing, the mouth movements and stuff like that. Because there's a lot that goes into it, and it's funny because there would be jobs that I'm sure maybe you guys have seen. I know I've done one before, but it was like, oh, here we need you to narrate this, and oh, actually no, we need you to have it to match the mouth movements on screen to this Spanish person. It was like, oh, well, you didn't say that when I recorded it,
right? Yeah.
And they're like, oh, well, can you do that? And you're like,
it costs more.
Try. You want dubbing, and that's what this is, and this all goes back to people being just ignorant to how like voiceover is, because the internet allowed them to be able to need voiceover like from so many different areas, where before it was just like the structured areas where it came from.
Sure.
But then there was nothing teaching them about that. It's just like, well, we need a voice, so let's go get one,
Right. Well, it's a double whammy. It's uneducated people who are starting voice acting and might not have learn these things, and uneducated people who are buying voices, and they meet each other a lot of times.
It's
feel
the
like
Fiverr generation.
The gig economy, and there's unfortunately, the SEO, the internet will win every time, and so no matter what we do or what everybody does, like we as like the industry, it's just not going to go away, because we can't like overtake the lead that like Voice123 and Voices.com and other places have that can give you an easy access point to the industry, and maybe you find, or you just look up voices. And like to your point earlier, Mike, at the beginning, that, there's a lot of people that have an offer out there for voiceover coaching of some sort. Like I've been off social media for a while and I came back to LinkedIn. It's just Facebook. But, I go back to LinkedIn and I'm like, oh, they're coaching too. Like, oh my, and I go onto Instagram to check something, on the browser, and I'm like, oh, they're coaching. Like it just seems like everybody is offering something coaching wise,
I'm coaching.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I'm going to coach people how to be cool and have a nice conversation.
I'm going to coach people on.
I'm going to charge a lot, by the way.
And people are, there's different people. And it's interesting. There's people that are coaching. They're like, oh, can I refer people to you guys? Because I'm just starting them out. And it was like, sure, I get. But it's just like this weird thing where, like we were elevated to like, oh, the pros use them, or it's weird because that's not the point. But yeah, that's kind of where things are. It feels like, and there's so many people that there is so much noise, and it's really hard to know like what's next. And
I'm thankful that the very first referral I got from a friend of mine that said you should do this, and hey, I'm working with a guy, happened to be someone who was working with Rosenthal.
Yeah,
and so I didn't get into the slog that some people have, like you, who got bad advice in the beginning and made a bad demo because people took them and now they have to restart. We've heard that from probably at least a third of our guests that we've had this past
year.
They're
all fine.
Have all had that happen. And so I'm just very thankful that I didn't.
It still it happened, it's been happening. And it still happened, I guess.
Well, now there's got to be so much more because there's you're flooded with it.
Yeah, you just type
on
in
social
like
media.
voiceover.
Yeah,
and there's and I was talking to someone yesterday or over the weekend or something. I was just like, it's tough because it's not to say that like we started that. I mean, obviously we started not trying to like, oh, we can sell. It's like, man, we need to help. Like people are getting railroaded, but there was other people like. We'll say like Paul Schmidt, Tracy Lindley. They weren't coaching before. Well, Tracy's been around forever, but she wasn't coaching when like I started with GVAA. She built that up and then did she have something incredible to offer? I think a lot of people would say yes. She's done a lot of good stuff. So it's hard because sometimes it's like, oh, there's great things. I think Paul Schmidt's done a really good job. And there's other people that have come in and have their own thing, but then there's also people that come in and it's like maybe that isn't valuable, and it's just more of the fact of the sheer number of all of it happening. It makes a lot of noise. Like I always talk about how I used to say like GVA is like the North Star for people when they join the membership because there's so much noise, and now we have like the journey to kind of do that.
Yeah.
Well, the noise is so much worse than when I was thinking of that because that was 3 years ago when I was like kind of coining like, oh yeah, there's like, cause I was feeling like there's so much noise out there. So yeah, I just can't imagine how much like someone coming in. When I hit the internet and I looked, the first thing I saw, I trusted. So that's going to happen every time, right? And if there's a little bit of credibility potentially, or truthfully, like Joe Zizia has something he's doing, and he's doing a lot of really good marketing and stuff, and I see it on YouTube ads and stuff.
Yeah, and he's great at marketing.
Yeah, he's really good, and so. People are going to see that, and Joe's a good dude, and he's doing things in a good way. David and Christina, I don't know if they both are still, but they've done stuff in his program and stuff. But like, what if it's not Joe and it's the dude, the voiceover beard, and he's just selling his thing, And it's like, so that's what's difficult because the noise is there, and the people on the other side of the noise, they're too fresh to be able to decipher what it is and isn't.
And if you don't have good advice coming in, then you are just going to go, wow, that looks flashy and that looks like it's good. Right. And you may be going, okay, well, this one here, they're saying pay me $400, and this one here is saying pay me $150. Well, I'll go the cheap route, and it's a big nothing burger. And
I guess the best thing that happens through this, spending money sucks, and I guess this can happen in other fields, maybe not so much. But eventually those people will start to talk to other people who have trained. and they're going to see like, oh, you've been doing the same amount of time or something, or maybe like, I'm not feeling like I'm there. Who are you talking to?
Yeah.
And then maybe
Well,
hopefully they bounce to one of those right people that you mentioned.
And I think that's happened a lot too. Like, oh
Yeah.
like I heard about, like, Mike got referred, and like,
Yeah.
I just happened to find it on Facebook. But like, yeah, people will be like, oh yeah, like, oh, have you heard of GVA? And a lot of times people may find their first coach through like those ancillary avenues, and then they find maybe Facebook groups or something, and then all of a sudden they found their way into maybe the mainstream, like the area that we know, and then they're getting the information about, now they're maybe getting more legitimate information or more pro level type stuff that we know about, and then now their world just completely opens. Like all of a sudden they're like, oh no. So that stuff happens all the time because there's so many entry points. I feel like with theater and on camera and stuff like that, there's only so many ways you can do it, and it's kind of known. Like, oh, you go here, you do, there's kind of a little bit of a template. And on camera, like, you're not trying to book a job with the client. You're just trying to get the audition. And there's no like, oh, the end client needs an on camera person. So they don't do that activity either. So it's pretty unique to voiceover, where we have to really do all these things. And I think, you don't realize that from the outside. And it makes it really easy to be susceptible to, this is great, this is good, just do this, you'll make six figures. And I can just pick up. And I think as human beings, that's the way we are. We take the path of least resistance. All animals do that, right? Like, and so, if there's an easy way to do something, that's why everyone wants to adopt AI. They want to take the easiest path to have the least time doing something, that produce more results, or more time, or more money, or whatever that comes back. But I think that's our nature. And so when we're faced with something that's like, hey, if you do this, like, you'll make this money, you're like, oh my God, this is great. I mean, like, like the marketing, distributive marketing things like Amway and, all the pyramid.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, if you just get 5 people in your downline and you do this, like, you can reach diamond in 3 years and be making 675,000, and you're like, oh yeah, you get hyped up over like the thought of these dreams, and that it's made so easy. And I think, like what you were saying, Mike, where we just say, hey, this is what it's going to take, and we're very real about it, that weeds out the people that are like, I only have $20 in my bank account, or that weeds out the people that are like, oh, this is hard, I have to do work, And that's what I think, when you're given, when you're given like the keys, like, here, it's so easy, just buy this and you'll be good. Yeah. Then
that sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds really good. It's really easy.
To the undiscerning mind, that sounds great.
Yeah.
Well, hey, we're running up on time, but I have one more quick question for you.
Let's do it.
That's specific to David Toback. David, what? It's a two-parter. First of all, what's the thing in voiceover, not counting the stuff you've done for GVA, stuff that you personally have done? What's the thing you're most proud of? Either the job or the gig or the whatever, and then what's on the horizon for David? What are you hoping for? What's your dream?
What am I most proud of? Well, so I guess I can't say the rate guide, huh?
I told you I took that off the table.
Yeah, you did, didn't you? You took the easy one off the table. I would say I haven't done too many super impactful things. That's the project that I had to let go. Would have been really cool. They were anti-Semitic ads, so that would have been pretty meaningful.
Wait, they were anti-Semitic ads?
Yeah, and what did I say?
They're anti-Semitic ads.
Yes, anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
It's anti-Semitism.
Yes.
Against anti-Semitism is what you were trying to say.
They were,
because there's a big difference, David.
Yeah, the big difference. Yes, big difference.
No, this would have been sweet.
I did these anti-Semitic ads. It was great, but I had to let it go because they wanted them forever. Yes, anti-Semitism.
Yeah, against. How about we just say against anti-Semitism?
Yes, ads against anti-Semitism.
We know, like the anti-Semitism.
The anti got me messed up. It was like oh, this is wrong. Yeah.
That's good.
Those would have been good, but I think I was really looking forward to that, and I did voice it, and delivered the project, and then it had to be canceled. So I knew exactly what was going on. And then what's on the horizon for David? Well, I'm planning my international move currently.
Where are you moving to, David?
I'm moving.
David.
Unless something changes, then some things go down and things change. I'll be heading to Columbia, in the summer.
Ooh.
Columbia, New Jersey.
Yes, Columbia, New Jersey. Yes, Columbia, South Carolina.
Ohio.
South Carolina, South America. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm gonna go hang out in Medellin for a while, and
very exciting.
Take the remote.
It's amazing.
Yeah, do some.
Are we allowed to visit now that we've had you on the pod?
Absolutely. Yeah,
on your dime, right? You fly us down.
Wait a sec.
I mean,
Mike,
we'll see.
Come on. He's letting us stay in his home and eat his food and pet his cat or whatever.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll foot the bill for the flight as long as you put us up.
It's not too expensive, actually. It's not that bad. And once you get there, it's very inexpensive. So
nice.
It'll be good. So I got you there. But yeah.
All right.
And you didn't find out what the COO does for GVAA.
What does the COO do?
A lot. Cool.
Well, basically, I make sure I do all the things that someone that runs the business would do. So I take care of the accounting, the bookkeeping. We have a bookkeeper, but I manage all of that with the bookkeeper. I correct everything. I used to do the marketing and manage the social media. Didn't do the posts, but I did everything. Now we have Jess, and she handles all the marketing, but I used to do all the marketing emails and figure out what we were going to do for social and coordinate the social posts. And I do all the payroll and run the numbers, and I keep track of the finance stuff, like the purchases, and I run the website too. So when there's a website,
not much is what you're saying.
not much. So when there's a website issue, it's like, Toback, what's wrong with this? What can we do? How do we fix this? Like what So how the website works together with like on demand and on demand, and so pretty much everything that the business works, like I have my hands in, a good degree. Like marketing, I've kind of don't do that anymore. So it's kind of just, oh, we're good, Jess, great. You just kind of trust Jess does a good job.
Good.
So
Jess is great.
Yeah.
She's going to listen to us. She's great.
She's great.
Yeah.
So I'm very thankful. So yeah, there's those things. Sean does everything with the membership. But then if there's like, oh, what happened here? Like, someone's account got canceled for some, then it's like, I'm on the case. So like how things work, the operational aspect of them. Now. Yeah.
What I love also is you've managed the podcast, the Mitch and Mike podcast, to remember that we had a pin in something from the very beginning of the podcast that we had to ask you, and we didn't even think about asking. I knew there was something.
An hour later, and David's like,
yeah.
Hey, didn't ask
by
this
the way,
question.
you had this really good question that's saved for the last. So thank you for also
thanks
managing
for doing our job
David.
for us as
You
well.
bet. Anytime.
He just does everything.
I just remembered. I was like, oh wait, you asked about that.
Now I normally have a super special fancy question, but I'm getting antsy to act A and B. You've named a couple people, Tracy Lindley and Paul Schmidt.
Yeah.
If you feel comfortable throwing out one more name, just into
someone
the
that
ether,
we should be looking
looking
out for,
maybe even emailing.
I guess if we're talking about actors that are
sure.
doing good, I mean, I think Dominique Vivard, she's a member as well. She's caught my ear. And then outside of actors, I know it was like something in the VO community.
Sure.
New rate guide is coming. So
Yeah.
So we're, like I said, we're doing commercial review on the 24th. And I'm assuming we're going to get stuff out as it comes. There's still some figuring out how to do that on the new website, which I'm figuring out. But we're in motion to get a whole new commercial thing done in the next few weeks. Hopefully next month we'll have all of commercial redone.
Awesome.
So that's going to be coming up. We're going to do, like I said, a digital rates and commercial usage webinar, and that'll have stuff from there. And we're going to promote the new stuff when it comes. So new rates and structures to look forward to in the next few months.
Nice.
Digital,
All right.
We're
especially.
lucky to have you guys.
We are. And now we get to hear David play around with us. So we're
yes.
going to pause
yeah.
here.
Play.
And we're going to have ChatGPT write us something really stupid. And you're going to hear a whole other side of David.
Oh, can't wait.
Here we go now. Hey, we're back. And once again, we have a script that has to do with poop. Because, that's how we do. All right, so I'll set the scene. 3 pigeons are perched on a ledge above a busy sidewalk. Below, people are walking, texting, sipping coffee, and minding their own business.
All right. We've been sitting here for 20 minutes. I'm backed up like a New York sewer. We need to choose a target.
Oh, geez, Marty, patience, okay? Patience. I mean, the universe will show us who the chosen one is that we should poop on.
I say we hit the guy with the Bluetooth headset. He's been talking to no one for 12 blocks. That's dark magic, you ask me.
No. That guy's cursed. You poop on a Bluetooth, bro. Next thing you know, your feathers are falling out, and your nest smells like Axe body spray.
Oh, that's not good. Oh, well, what about her, huh? Look at her. She's drinking something. She's drinking, she's drinking plants?
Plants?
Oh, that's suspicious. What's she hiding?
Nah, probably kale. Kale's the plant that pretends it's a leaf but tastes like old newspaper. Poop worthy for sure.
Wait. What about the mime?
Oh, risky. High risk, high reward. I like how you're thinking there, Marty. If you miss, he pretends it didn't happen. But if you hit, it's an interpretive tragedy.
I love interpretive tragedy.
Did you blow a nose bubble there, Gloria?
Okay. New rule. We each get 1 vote. Person with the most votes gets the blessing.
All right. Well, I vote mime. For the art.
Meh. I vote the guy in the suit who just yelled into his phone, "I'll fire you so fast your kids will forget your face." Yeah, that man needs a humbling.
All right. I vote for the baby in the stroller.
Marty!
What? It's just a tiny person. They don't even remember stuff yet.
That's not the point. The baby is innocent.
Marty, you need help, man. Like an intervention or something, like nest-to-nest counseling.
Okay.
You touched in the head.
Tiebreaker. Okay, we go for the mime, but we aim for the invisible box.
Target
acquired.
Direct hit on the existential dread.
Oh, look, he's cleaning his imaginary window.
Nice. What a blast.
Everybody likes a script that involves poop.
I think I could do pigeons every time, you guys.
Yeah. Hey, maybe next time they're from, from San Francisco or something. I don't know. We'll just make them regional
from
pigeons.
Sussex, England. The English pigeons.
Yes.
This was a Tobackian pick here, you guys. Let us know how you like it. Is that new? Has anything been Tobackian yet?
We have coined the phrase. It's another thing I'm turning into
might be
Webster.
Fairly new.
All right. We have been Tobacized. Thank you, everyone, for joining. And David, thank you very much.
This is
It was a
fun.
blessing to have you. And
Thank you. It
Anytime.
was a lot of fun. Thanks for bringing some cheer to my day.
Oh. Well, thanks. I'm glad we could do that for you.
Wait, mine's a sandwich.
Wait.
I just made a sandwich instead of
Yeah, I'm making hearts. Mitch is going to eat a burger.
All right.
That's cool.
I
All right.
burger you, Toback.
We will catch
I
you
burger
next
you.
time Thanks for
Thanks,
tuning
guys.
in,
Been
everybody. Awkward goodbye.
Double hand wave.
Bye.
Bye. Ooh.